Go Mustang, the Coach Alexander Show, brought to you by Kim Assad, your real estate broker.
Hello, Mustang Nation. Matt Carnes, Grapevine Booster here for Week 13 of the Coach Mike Alexander Show with head coach of your Grapevine Mustangs, Coach Alexander. It's our 13th and sadly final show, Coach. We had biggest game in Grapevine Mustang history, or at least for a long time around here last Saturday night. It didn't go as we planned, but congratulations on a wonderful season, and congratulations on getting to round 3 of the playoffs for the first time in 20 years. But with that, just tell us your thoughts of Team 99 and everything about that led up to Saturday night.
Well, I think the important thing to note is, most people, Matt, think that, the season starts in August. And, for those, JV and varsity football players that were in our locker room this year, that, they know that that's nothing further from the truth. And they started the season back in January, and their motto back in the weight room in last January was, "We want more." And they knew that the round 2 exit that we took in 2017 was something that they didn't want to do again. They wanted to play. They wanted to play at least another week, and so they attacked off season in that manner. And through off season, through spring football, through summer conditioning and 2-a-days. I mean, just thinking about all the many hours, and if you're a parent of a player, you know what we're talking about. It's a sacrifice for the whole family when your son, plays football at Grapevine, because we do expect a lot of our kids, and it takes a lot of time and effort and energy for the whole family. So, in that regard, just thinking back to everything that was invested, I still think it's worth it. The kids looking at their faces at the end of that game, they weren't finished. They still wanted to play again. They still wanted to play for each other. I've done this 21 years, Matt, and I'll tell you, the longer I do this, the more I realize that, and I said this at the Booster Club meeting last night, football is not as much about X's and O's as it is about team chemistry and kids, loving each other and wanting to play for each other and their coaching staff. And Team 99, they exemplified that. Those kids, man, they really, really enjoyed each other's company. They enjoyed playing for each other, and that's what I'm going to miss the most. Obviously, I miss this weekend preparing for another game, and that's fun for me as a coach. But I miss I'm going to miss the interaction amongst the team the most, but I couldn't be prouder. I mean, I think if we were to poll, the majority of the people that are connected to our program, I think most of them would have thought that we probably wouldn't have gone 3-0 in non-district. And then for us to finish up on a 10-win season and playing 13 games with so many new faces on defense, and a new quarterback and all that entails, and I'm just sure proud of those kids.
Well, you had new kickers too.
And new kickers. That's a lot of points,
That's
that walked out the door with Carson French when he graduated. So yeah, I mean, it speaks to just the, I guess, the culture and what we've created here at Grapevine. Success breeds success. Each group wants to improve on what's been given to them, and that'll be the challenge for Team 100 moving forward.
Well, we're looking forward to Team 100, but you said many times that Team 99 had a focused effort to leave the Grapevine Mustang football program better than they found it.
That's
no
sure.
question that they did that.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was fun to see, and we kind of joked about it a little bit before the show. Here we are in December after having a December football game for the first time in Grapevine in a long time. But it seems like it was just yesterday that we were sitting in Argyle trying to find a little shade.
Yeah, boy, it was hot that day.
I was so glad I wasn't on the field. Man, I didn't feel.
Boy, I
did not want any part of what y'all were doing.
Well, those poor defensive kids, they were, that Argyle offense, they were rolling, and they were playing so fast. But I knew right then, because everybody knew that, even Argyle being 4A D2 or 4A D1, they're probably the best team in the state, you know, and in 4A. And when we went out there and went toe-to-toe with those guys, you know, on defense and got stops and did as well as we did, I thought, our kids, we have something special here that we can build on. And so that after that Argyle scrimmage, I think is what really opened my eyes to this is going to be a special year.
Well, you roll into your first 3 games, and of course, I don't know how much people were expecting from Azle, Abilene Cooper, and Justin Northwest, but you rolled through all 3 of those comfortably, and they all 3 wound up as playoff teams, and all 3 of them had a playoff win.
That's right. Northwest ended up having the best season in their school's history. You know, they had never won more games than they did this year. And Azle, my goodness, I think they lost 2 games on the year. They lost to us in Coronado, you know. So I think they finished 10-2. So, you know, I mean, and Cooper's, you know, they're always going to be a tough
They're
out.
Cooper.
You know, they're always going to be good.
They're always good.
And so, man, I don't know. It wasn't unexpected for me because I knew the heart of our kids. You know, I'm with them day in, day out, and I knew how much they cared about each other, and I knew how tough they were going to play. I think what I was probably a couple things that I was most proud of offensively with our new quarterback. You know, he was able to spread the ball around. And, you know, everybody likes to talk about balance on offense. You know, is it 50-50 run pass? Well, we weren't 50-50 run pass, but I know you look at our individual stats at all of our skill positions, and every position had roughly about the same amount of yardage, you know, in the year. And, you know, there wasn't a one guy that he got all the yards, all the touchdowns, all the catches. And what that allowed us to do late in the season when we had some injuries and some guys were missing, it allowed us just to keep moving forward and keep gaining first downs and touchdowns. And so, you know, I was really proud of our offensive distribution there. And then defensively, Matt, I'm going to let everybody in on a little secret now. We're not as big as most people we play.
Really?
Yeah, and so
Thanks for the news flash.
we don't have one player on defense that weighed 200 pounds. And you know, for our kids to go out there and to fight the way they do, and to get the stops they get, you know, against, you know, much larger offensive linemen and big 5A running backs, you know, it speaks to their heart, it speaks to their toughness. And as a coach, that makes me so proud to be associated with those kids.
Well, we talked about it all year with that defense. I mean, there was so much teamwork, so much chemistry, and so much swarming with them all year long. Probably exemplified no better than in Denton when they finally decided we need to throw the football, and right before halftime they wound up with 4th and 40.
Right.
It just didn't go their way, and you know that they had to be looking at that thinking, we're going to kill these kids.
Yeah.
Because we are so much bigger, and there was nothing they could do.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I have a decent relationship with most of the opposing coaches that we play, and we typically talk more after the game than before the game. But you know, I heard that a lot of times this year after games. He said, "Man, I can't believe we didn't block you guys better." You know, and you know, and I don't know what to say to that. I mean, Coach Harvey and Coach Hall do a great job, you know, coaching our kids with their technique, but Coach Harvey and Coach Hall can't go out there and play for them. You know, when they get that double team, they can't, you know, help them, make them be unselfish. That's got to come intrinsically, and once again, our kids, they don't care about who gets the credit; they just care that we win.
Well, and it showed all year long because they were just, you know, wonderful teamwork all the way around. And then you look over at the offense, and you know what a great group of seniors you had over there. Of course, you had Cade, you got David, you got Roshan, you got Jack, you got these names that we've seen a lot of. Alex, and I'm missing a few, but when you look back at that senior class that's moving on, try to see if we can do it without the tear shed here. But what's your overall thought of that senior class as they head out?
I think it just goes back to none of them cared who got the credit. They just wanted to play. And you know, everybody's got a different story. You know, Seth just really blossomed and gained confidence as the year went on. And we move on and beat Caprock because he has a huge game, you know. Jack Ertz, you know, developed himself as a great blocker. He was always an above-average receiver, you know, even when he was a sophomore and a junior. But he became elite this year. You know, Roshan's, you know, he's Roshan. He give him a little space, and he's going to make, you know, going to break your back. And then, you know, David, you know, he's always been this group's playmaker, you know, since they were freshmen, and he's always shouldered that. And this year, people were determined to take him away, and he faced a lot of double teams, and he faced a lot of you know, under and over coverage, and he could have gotten frustrated at times, but his teammates just kept making plays, and he was okay with it. And then Alex Regara, you know, I can't say enough about Alex, because the biggest thing that, you know, that I could probably, biggest compliment I could give Alex is he's the fiercest competitor I've ever coached. I told him the other night in the locker room at the end of the game, I said, Alex, if I had to pick a teammate to go do anything in competition, I'd pick you. And I also appreciate Alex for showing Grapevine that you can excel in baseball and football. You know, because that's been a misconception around here for a long time. I think that kids have to choose either football or baseball, and he doesn't, and he never did. And you know, he's committed to play baseball at Abilene Christian, and if he wanted to, I promise you, we could find multiple schools that would come be a receiver for them.
Oh, there's no question. He has great hands, ran a great route. He was. I mean, the whole group was just so fun to watch all season long. So that was really special. Of course, you got some other kids coming in from Team 99 that filled some of those roles. But before we get on to Team 100, let's talk about some of the highlights of the year. Of course, one of them being the Heritage win. That's always a big one to get the Red Rail back where it belongs. Any other highlights from the season you want to talk about?
You know, Matt, I was really proud of our kids in the Denton game, because that's one of those games early in the year where we just lost to Birdville. We're back at that point, we're 1-1 in district, and Denton High had arguably the best running back in the district, and we got to go to their place, and we're 1-1 coming off a heartbreaking loss, and our kids knew going into that game that this is a pivotal game, because if we don't win that one, our back's really against the wall in making the playoffs. And they just went out, and it was really never in question. They were focused, locked in, had a great practice that week, and just went and took care of an opponent that, you know, looking back now, we should have. But at the time, I mean, everybody was picking Denton to possibly be that fourth playoff team in our district. And they took care of business. So that was a really proud moment for me. And then I think, just to kind of piggyback on top of that whole week, the Saturday after we got beat by Birdville, our players went over to Cannon and helped all the teachers at Cannon move into the new school. Mm-hmm. When we could have been crying in our milk, we could have been thinking about ourselves and, you know, upset with officials, upset with a lot of different things. But we learned a valuable lesson as a team that day that, you know, life's not about us and how we feel. It's about giving of ourselves to others and being unselfish and having eyes out. And so we learned that lesson that week, that we went out to Cannon and served in our community. And I really think that one thing kind of propelled our team for the next week getting ready to go play Denton. Because it forced us to get our eyes off of our problems and go help somebody else.
Well, that all comes back to the character development, which you and the whole staff have a very intentional approach with. One of those key things is, of course, Breakfast of Champions, which I preach about a lot. Men, if you're not doing it next year, be a part of it. But let's talk about Breakfast of Champions, because we had 13 opportunities for that for the players and the dads to get a message from somebody special, came in and brought some sort of a message to the team that was meaningful, not only from the sport, but also in life in general. And it helps to build that character as you're talking about. But let's just talk about some of the Breakfast of Champion highlights and how that helps to build the character as well.
Yeah, so, I mean, every week it's, I love it because it's one thing I don't have to set up, number one. And so Dan Shadle, thank you, Dan, for heading that up.
And great job with all the speakers.
You did a fantastic
great
job. We had some tremendous speakers this year. But I get to walk in and just see, watch it unfold. And so many times, the speakers hit on maybe a chord that we've been talking about as a coaching staff for a week or two sometimes, and it's just more evidence that what we're trying to impart into our boys is the truth, and it'll help them in life. But man, we had some good ones. I remember the Earl brothers before we played Heritage gave us the story of the real McCoy. And I'd always heard, you heard the saying, the real McCoy, but I didn't understand what it was all about. And then after we won the football game and the kids were all sitting down there, I heard, one of the kids popped off and said, "Coach, who's the real McCoy?" And so they're hearing the message, on Friday mornings, and then we were able to, probably still my all-time favorite is Keith Davis, and he came and spoke to us this year about, get it back, and what he was talking about, was the number one, your faith, and then number two, how it relates to your whatever your goals are in life and successes. Go get it and take it, and so man, we had such good ones, such good speakers every week. Wish I had time to run down all of them, but men, just come on next year on Friday mornings, and we'll have a great time.
Well, and back to Keith, he was here last year talking about fill the gap. Mm-hmm. This year he was talking about get it back, and saw him at the game the other night. And I should have said thanks because I use those phrases from him a lot with the football player we have living in our house, and just wanted to make sure he's filling the gap with the stuff he should be filling the gap with. Mm-hmm. And when the time comes, you got to get it back. Mm-hmm. So those are life lessons that are incredibly important. So Team 99, great job. Congratulations. You were such a treat to be around, each and every one of you. We move on to Team 100. I've tried to look around and see if I can figure out how many high school football teams in Texas can say they've played 100 years. I haven't found that list yet. Google doesn't have everything, but it's got a lot. But I haven't found that yet. But here we are moving to Team 100, and tell it from a head coach. I mean, how many coaches get to say, "I'm there for Team 100"?
I don't know. I know this though. When we moved here 4 years ago, and I came on the staff as a defensive coordinator, and I think back at the time it was maybe Coach Jackson or somebody was doing the research and figuring out, all right, this was Team 96, Team 97. I started doing the math, and I thought, you know what? My son's senior year is going to be Team 100. And I thought, man, what a special opportunity I have as a coach. And back then, that was 4 years ago, this tells you what the coaches' world's like. I was just thinking, God, I hope I'm still there, to get to experience it. And so here we are. Definitely, we're going to live it. It's going to be awesome. Our boys that are returning, they know they have big shoes to fill. They've definitely been handed a great situation from Team 99, and it's their job to just build on it.
Well, it's going to be fun. You'll finally have a stadium. No more Mustang Dragon Stadium for home games.
That's right.
Still one of the funniest things I heard all year. You're going to have.
Who said that?
I think it was the head coach. Coach, I think that was one of the lines you uttered this year. Very, very well. They're going to have the first full season here, of course, in the Mustang Athletic Center, which is a great tool. Going to be interesting to see how that works in the off season. It'll be your first off season with this. You got Team 100. You're coming off a winning season, so moving into Team 100 is going to be a real special time. So Mustang, Texas, or Grapevine, Texas, get a hold of that and let's support these Mustangs next year. So we'll see you next year. I don't know if there's anything else you want to add to the closing season here for the final show of the year.
Well, we owe a big special thanks to Fred Ertz. This is probably going to be his last show, being our producer. Fred does so much for us. He's done everything from running our Friday night guide to selling sponsorships, doing all the video production. The many hats he wears are endless, and so he's going to be spending a lot of time up in New York next year during football season watching Jack play. So Fred, we just want you to know we appreciate you, we love you, and we thank you.
Thank you so much. I've been doing this 3 years now, and he's somehow figured out how to make me look decent. I don't know about good, but decent. We appreciate all that time. So Fred, you and Stephanie are going to get a steak dinner, courtesy of Coach and I. We're all going to go out and have a good time, celebrate a steak dinner, and say thanks for all that you've done over the last 3 years with this show and all that you've done for the program. So with that, Coach, we'll see you next season. Looking forward to it, and go Mustangs.
Go Mustang. The Coach Alexander Show, brought to you by Kim Assad, your real estate broker.